Welcome back to Impact Math with Miss Taylor. Alrighty, we are going to be working on a mini lesson for writing equations in slope-intercept form, standard form, or given 2 points, okay? So number 1 says we're looking for slope-intercept form. So what you have to understand about slope-intercept form is we're looking for y equals mx plus b, okay? So basically what we want to do is take this point slope form. Okay, this is the point slope form, and solve it for y. So we're first going to start by distributing this 4/5. Okay, and that just means we're going to multiply. So we're going to do 4/5 x. And then I'm going to do a little side note over here. 4/5 times 5 over 1. Well, you can cross simplify here. 5 divided by 5 cancels. So you're left with just 4. So when we take 4/5 times 5, we get plus 4. And we're going to drop down our y minus 1. And now I need to get this y by itself. So this minus 1 is on this side. So I'm going to do the opposite of minus, which I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And as you notice, I'm adding the 1 underneath the 4 and not the 4/5 x, because these are not like terms if I put the 1 underneath the x, because it doesn't have an x next to it. So it must go underneath the 4. So now we're going to drop down our y equals, we're going to drop down our 4/5 x, and then 4 plus 1 gives us 5. And this is our equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, mx plus b. All right, let's go to the next. Write each equation in standard form. All right, woo, they throwing these forms at us, right? So let's talk about standard form. It is different from slope-intercept form. So standard form is written as ax plus bx by equals c, okay? And so what we're doing is we want to have the x plus the y equals the number that doesn't have, that's called a constant, doesn't have any variable or letter by it. So let's first start off by distributing, which means we're just going to multiply. So 2 times x, remember, when anybody asks you a number times letter, you just put them together. 2x. And then 2 times negative 8 is negative 16, and we have y minus 10. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this 10 over by doing the opposite of minus. So we're going to add 10 to both sides, and we get y equals 2x minus 6, because negative 16 plus 10. So you're down $16. You put $10 in the bank. You still owe the bank $6. But we are not done yet, right? Because this is slope-intercept form. What we have to do is we need to get this 2x over here. And so it's like, how do we move that 2x to the other side? Well, it's a positive 2x. So we're going to move it by doing the opposite, which is minusing 2x to both sides. Now, this is what trips people up. These are not like terms, right? So we literally have to just write them right next to each other. So we're going to write negative 2x. Remember, this is a positive y. So we could put plus y equals and drop down our negative 6. Now, this is our equation in standard form, okay? But let's just say we don't want it to lead with a negative number. So what we can do is we can divide each of these by negative 1. Okay. And then we can end up with positive 2x. A positive divided by negative is a negative y equal a negative divided by negative is a positive 6. And so we have ax plus a negative by equals 6. And that's our equation in standard notation. Alrighty, let's go on to the next one. So it just says write an equation All right, so it's giving us 2 points. So we're going to start with x1, y1, x2, and y2. Okay, we're going to label our points. Whenever we're trying to write an equation, remember we have to find the slope. And so remember that's rise over run, or the changes in your y's over the changes in your x. Okay, so we're first going to find the slope. And we're going to do that by plugging and chugging. So we labeled y2 22. So I'm going to put 22 minus, from the formula, my y1 is 6. Over my x2, we said was -2. So I'm going to put -2. I'm writing this minus from the formula. And then my x1 is -4. Be careful here. Remember, this minus was from this formula. We have to write -4, which is our x1. A lot of people mess this up by missing this negative. So 2 negatives touching like this go to a, hopefully your brain is shouting positive, okay? If not, it's going to start. So 22 minus 6, let's see, 22 minus 2 is 20, minus 4 is 16. And then -2 plus 4, well, 4 minus 2 is 2. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. So now that we know our slope is 8, and we have a point, we can use our slope-intercept form to write an equation. So we can use y1 equals m times x1 plus b, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my y1, so I'm going to put 6 in for here. And then I'm going to put my x1, which is -4, in for my x1 into the equation. And then don't forget, that's why we solved for our slope right here, which is 8. To plug in right here, because we're looking for our y-intercept, which is our b. So let's do the plug in. So 6 equals my m, which is 8, times, because these are multiplied together, my x1, which is -4, plus b, okay? So 8 times -4 is -32, equals to 6. Drop down your plus b. And now we need to get this -32 to the other side by doing the opposite of minus. So we're going to add 32. Add 32. So 6 plus 32, that gives us, I'm going to move it up here, over here. That gives us 38 equals to b. Okay. So now that I have my b and I have my slope, I can write an equation. Y equals my m, which was 8x, and my b is a positive 38. And this is how we write an equation given 2 points. Well, one way, I should say. All right, if you hung with me this far, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much for that support and getting my watch time up. If you could help by liking, commenting, and sharing with somebody in need, that would be awesome. All right, I will catch you on the next one. Let's continue. All right, number 4 says write an equation and graph. So we have -6, -3, and our slope is -1. So I want to use the point slope formula. So I'm going to write it out. Well, let's label our point first. X1, Y1, okay? So the point slope formula says that you're going to do Y minus Y1 equals to the slope times X minus X1. And I want to plug in now my X1 into this formula and plug in my y1, -3, in for right here, and my slope, which is -1 right here for m, okay? So you see how this y and this x always are going to stay, okay? Because they don't have a number by them. So they're like constant. So we're going to do y minus our y1, which is a -3. Now pay attention here. This minus is from, this one is from the formula. This -3 is from the point that we plugged in, okay? Equals, now my slope is -1, okay, times x minus, and then my x1, which is a -6. Again, this minus sign is from the formula. This -6 is from the point that I'm plugging in. Now, two negatives, when they're touching like this, make a positive. So we can change that to a big plus and change this to a big plus. So now we can distribute this -1 here and here, which means we're going to multiply. -1 times x, you just put it together, -1x. And then -1 times a +6 is a -6. We're going to drop down our y plus 3. Okay. Now I need this 3 to the other side. So I'm going to do that by minusing 3 to both sides. Now you see I did not put it underneath the x because this doesn't have an x. So these would not be like terms. It has to go underneath that 6. So we get y equals -1x. And then -6 minus 3 is -9. Okay. So our m is -1 over 1. Remember, m stands for rise. So you can fall or rise, over run. Okay. And then my y-intercept here is -9. So I look on the y-axis and I find -9. Now my slope tells me to drop down 1 and go to the +1. But I can also go the opposite direction. If I go up, then I just have to go left. So if I go up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1. And then we could see that our line is going just like this. And so let me center it out for us. That is how we graph. So I always tell my students to do this arrow here for their slope so they don't have to even think about it. Here it's a negative, so I know I'm dropping down. And underneath here is a +1, and we're going right. Now, every whole number can be written over 1. So if you're wondering, like, where did she get that 1 from? It's because every whole number can be written over 1. And we have to know that slope is rise over the run. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next. Pause the video here. Try it. And then let's see if you understand how to write an equation with 2 points. Okay. Okay, number 5, write an equation in standard form. So first off, you have to understand what standard form is. It's ax plus bx by equals c, okay? This is the standard form of a linear equation. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to have to find our slope, okay? So we're going to do that by labeling our points. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. We're going to use our slope formula, which says the changes in your y's over the changes in your x. Okay. So we have y2, which is -7, minus from our formula, our y1, which is a -3. Remember, this minus sign is from the formula. Our y1 is -3, so we must put -3. Now we have x2, which is 4, minus from the formula, and our x1 is a -2. Two negatives, when they touch like this, become a positive, so we can make a big positive sign. So we have -7 plus 3, which is -4, And then 4 plus 2, which is 6. And we can simplify this by dividing this by 2 and dividing this by 2. So we get negative 2 over 3. That's our simplified slope. Okay. Now what we're going to use is our slope-intercept form. So we're going to go back to y1 equals m times x1 plus b. And we're going to plug in this negative 3 for my y1. We're going to plug in this negative 2/3 for my slope, because that's what our slope was. And lastly, we're going to plug in our negative 2 for our x1. We're doing this because we need to solve for the y-intercept, which is going to be our c over here. Okay. So let's keep it going. So y1 is negative 3 equals my m, which is negative 2/3 times, these are times together, negative 2 plus b. Okay, now we could put this over 1. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4 over 3 plus b equals negative 3. Okay, now we want to move this 4/3. I'm going to move it over here, you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna rewrite it. Negative 3 equals 4/3 plus b. Now we want to move this for positive 4/3 to the other side. So we can subtract 4/3 to both sides, okay? Now, some of us don't like fractions, right? Minus 3 minus 4/3 equals b. So what we can do here, if you don't like fractions, you don't like coming up with the same denominator, is you can multiply both sides, everything by 3, okay? So if I multiply here by 3, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And then 3 times here, this will cancel and we'll get negative 4 here. And then times this side by 3, we get 3b. So now negative 9 minus 4 gives us negative 13 equals to 3b. But then again, we still need b by itself. So we're going to end up by dividing by 3, and b would equal negative 13 over 3. Okay. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to write our equation, which is y equals my slope, which is negative 2/3 x minus 13 over 3. But remember, we want it in standard form. So what we can do here is we can times everything by 3 to get rid of the fractions. So we get 3y. When we times this by 3, these 3's cancel, and we're left with negative 2x. If we multiply this by 3, this 3 cancels, and negative 13. We want to move this x to this side because we want it in the ax plus by equals c form. So we want to move this over here. Well, how we do that is by doing the opposite of minus. So we're going to add 2x to both sides. This cancels. These are not like terms, so we're just going to write them horizontally. 2x plus, because this is a positive, 3y equals, we're going to drop down that negative 13. And this is how we write an equation in standard form. Whew! If you made it through this, you is a beast, okay? Beast mode for this problem. Alrighty, have a wonderful, blessed day, and I most definitely will catch you on the next one. Thank you for that follow, subscribe, and bye.